The door of the inn banged shut behind the white-haired man, and he spun around to glare at it. Lean, he would have been tall if not for a stoop to his shoulders, but he moved in a spry fashion that belied his apparent age. His cloak seemed a mass of patches, in odd shapes and sizes, fluttering with every breath of air, patches in 100 colors. It was really quite thick, Rand saw, despite what Master Alvier had said, with the patches merely sewn on like decorations. "The Gleeman," Egwene whispered excitedly. The white-haired man whirled, cloak flaring. His long coat had odd, baggy sleeves and big pockets. Thick mustaches, as snowy as the hair on his head, quivered around his mouth, and his face was gnarled like a tree that had seen hard times. He gestured imperiously at Rand and the others with a long-stemmed pipe, ornately carved, that trailed a wisp of smoke. Blue eyes peered out from under bushy white brows, drilling into whatever he looked at. Rand stared at the man's eyes almost as much as at the rest of him. Everybody in the Two Rivers had dark eyes, and so did most of the merchants, and their guards, and everyone else he had ever seen. The Congers and the Coplans had made fun of him for his gray eyes, until the day he finally punched Ewell Coplin in the nose. The wisdom had surely gotten onto him for that. He wondered if there was a place where nobody had dark eyes. Maybe Lan comes from there, too.
"What sort of place is this?"
the Gleeman demanded in a deep voice that sounded in some way larger than that of an ordinary man. Even in the open air it seemed to fill a great room and resonate from the walls.
"The yokels in that village on the hill tell me I can get here before dark, neglecting to say that was only if I left well before noon. When I finally do arrive, chilled to the bone and ready for a warm bed, your innkeeper grumbles about the hour as if I were a wandering swineherd, and your village council hadn't begged me to display my art at this festival of yours. And he never even told me he was the mayor."
He slowed for a breath, taking them all in with a glare, but he was off again on the instant.
"When I came downstairs to smoke my pipe before the fire and have a mug of ale, every man in the common room stares at me as if I were his least favorite brother-in-law seeking to borrow money. One old grandfather starts ranting at me about the kind of stories I should or should not tell. Then a girl child shouts at me to get out, and threatens me with a great club when I don't move quickly enough for her. Who ever heard of treating a Gleeman so?"
Egwene's face was a study, her goggle-eyed amaze at a Gleeman in the flesh, marred by a desire to defend Nynaeve. "Your pardon, Master Gleeman," Rand said. He knew he was grinning foolishly himself. "That was our wisdom, and—"
"That pretty little slip of a girl?" the Gleeman exclaimed. "A village wisdom? Why, at her age she should be better flirting with the young men than foretelling the weather and curing the sick."
Rand shifted uncomfortably. He hoped Nynaeve never overheard the man's opinion, at least not until he had done with his performing. Perrin winced at the Gleeman's words, and Matt whistled soundlessly, as if both had had the same thought as he had. "The men were the village council," Rand went on. "I'm sure they intended no discourtesy. You see, we just learned there's a war in Gildan, and a man claiming to be the dragon reborn. A false dragon. Aes Sedai are riding there from Tar Valon. The council is trying to decide if we might be in danger here."
"Old news, even in Baerlon," the Gleeman said dismissively. "And that is the last place in the world to hear anything." He paused, looking around the village, and dryly added, "Almost the last place." Then his eyes fell on the wagon in front of the inn, standing alone now, with its shafts on the ground. "So, I thought I recognized Padon Fane in there." His voice was still deep, but the resonance had gone, replaced by scorn. "Fane was always one to carry bad news quickly, and the worse, the faster. There's more raven in him than man."
"Master Fane has come often to Emond's Field, Master Gleeman," Egwene said, a hint of disapproval finally breaking through her delight. "He is always full of laughter, and he brings much more good news than bad." The Gleeman eyed her for a moment, then smiled broadly. "Now you're a lovely lass. You should have rosebuds in your hair. Unfortunately, I cannot pull roses from the air, not this year. But how would you like to stand beside me tomorrow for a part of my performance? Hand me my flute when I want it, and certain other apparatus."
I always choose the prettiest girl I can find as my assistant."
Perrin snickered, and Matt, who had been snickering, laughed out loud. Rand blinked in surprise. Egwene was glaring at him, and he had not even smiled. She straightened around and spoke in a too calm voice. "Thank you, Master Gleeman. I would be happy to assist you."
"Tom Merrilin," the Gleeman said.
They stared.
"My name is Tom Merrilin, not Master Gleeman."
He hitched the multi-hued cloak up on his shoulders, and abruptly his voice once more seemed to reverberate in a great hall.
"Once a court bard, I am now indeed risen to the exalted rank of Master Gleeman, yet my name is plain Tom Merrilin, and Gleeman is the simple title in which I glory."
And he swept a bow so elaborate with flourishes of his cloak that Matt clapped and Egwene murmured appreciatively. Master Merrilin," Matt said, unsure exactly what form of address to take out of what Tom Merrilin had said. "What is happening in Gildan? Do you know anything about this false dragon, or the Aes Sedai?"
"Do I look like a peddler, boy?" the Gleeman grumbled, tapping out his pipe on the heel of his palm.
He made the pipe disappear somewhere inside his cloak or his coat. Rand was not sure where it had gone or how.
"I'm a Gleeman, not a newsmonger. And I make a point of never knowing anything about Aes Sedai. Much safer that way."
"But the war," Matt began eagerly, only to be cut off by Master Merrilin.
"In wars, boy, fools kill other fools for foolish causes. That's enough for anyone to know. I am here for my art."
Suddenly he thrust a finger at Rand.
"You, lad, you're a tall one. Not with your full growth on you yet, but I doubt there's another man in the district with your height. Not many in the village with eyes that color either, I'll wager. The point is, you're an axe-handle across the shoulders and as tall as an Aiel man. What's your name, lad?"
Rand gave it hesitantly, not sure whether or not the man was making fun of him, but the Gleeman had already turned his attention to Perrin.
"And you have almost the size of an ogier. Close enough. How are you called?"
"Not unless I stand on my own shoulders," Perrin laughed. "I'm afraid Rand and I are just ordinary folk, Master Merrilin, not made-up creatures from your stories. I'm Perrin Ibarra." Tom Merrilin tugged at one of his mustaches.
"Well now, made-up creatures from my stories. Is that what they are? You lads are widely traveled, then, it seems."
Rand kept his mouth shut, certain they were the butt of a joke now, but Perrin spoke up. "We've all been as far as Watch Hill and Devon Ride. Not many around here have gone as far." He was not boasting. Perrin seldom did. He was just telling the truth. "We've all seen the mire, too," Matt added, and he did sound boastful. "That's the swamp at the far end of the waterwood. Nobody at all goes there. It's full of quicksands and bogs, except us. And nobody goes to the Mountains of Mist either, but we did once, to the foot of them anyway."
"As far as that,"
the Gleeman murmured, brushing at his mustaches now continually. Rand thought he was hiding a smile, and he saw that Perrin was frowning. "It's bad luck to enter the mountains," Matt said, as if he had to defend himself for not going further. "Everybody knows that." "That's just foolishness, Matrim Cawthon," Egwene cut in angrily. "Nynaeve says—" She broke off, her cheeks turning pink, and the look she gave Tom Merrilin was not as friendly as it had been. "It is not right to make— It isn't—" Her face went redder, and she fell silent. Matt blinked, as if he was just getting a suspicion of what had been going on.
"You're right, child," the Gleeman said contritely. "I apologize humbly. I am here to entertain. My tongue has always gotten me into trouble."
"Maybe we haven't traveled as far as you," Perrin said flatly. "But what does how tall Rand is have to do with anything?"
"Just this, lad. A little later I will let you try to pick me up, but you won't be able to lift my feet from the ground. Not you, nor your tall friend there, Rand, is it? Nor any other man. Now what do you think of that?"
Perrin snorted a laugh. "I think I can lift you right now." But when he stepped forward, Tom Merrilin motioned him back.
"Later, lad, later. When there are more folk to watch. An artist needs an audience."
A score of folk had gathered on the green since the Gleeman appeared from the inn, young men and women down to children who peeked wide-eyed and silent from behind the older onlookers. All looked as if they were waiting for miraculous things from the Gleeman. The white-haired man looked them over. He appeared to be counting them, then gave a slight shake of his head and sighed.
I suppose I had better give you a small sample, so you can run tell the others, eh? Just a taste of what you'll see tomorrow at your festival.
He took a step back and suddenly leaped into the air, twisting and somersaulting to land facing them atop the old stone foundation. More than that, 3 balls, red, white, and black, began dancing between his hands even as he landed. A soft sound came from the watchers, half astonishment, half satisfaction. Even Rand forgot his irritation. He flashed Egwene a grin and got a delighted one in return. Then both turned to stare unabashedly at the Gleeman.
You want stories? Tom Maryland declaimed. I have stories, and I'll give them to you. I'll make them come alive before your eyes.
A blue ball joined the others from somewhere, then a green one and a yellow.
Tales of great wars and great heroes for the men and boys. For the women and girls, the entire Aptaragine cycle. Tales of Atur Pendrag, Tonriol, Atur Hawkwing, Atur the High King, who once ruled all the lands from the Aiel Waste to the Arith Ocean, and even beyond. Wondrous stories of strange people and strange lands, of the Green Man, of warders and trollocs, of Ogier and Aiel, the 1,000 tales of Anla, the wise counselor, Jaime, the giant slayer, how Susa tamed Jain Farstrider, Mara, and the 3 foolish kings.
"Tell us about Len," Egwene called. "How he flew to the moon in the belly of an eagle made of fire. Tell about his daughter, Salya, walking among the stars." Rand looked at her out of the corner of his eye, but she seemed intent on the Gleeman. She had never liked stories about adventures and long journeys. Her favorites were always the funny ones, or stories about women outwitting people who were supposed to be smarter than everyone else. He was sure she had asked for tales about Len and Salya to put a burr under his shirt. Surely she could see the world outside was no place for Two Rivers folk. Listening to tales of adventures, even dreaming about them, was one thing. Having them take place around you would be something else again.
Old stories, those, Tom Maryland said, and abruptly he was juggling 3 colored balls with each hand. Stories from the age before the age of legends, some say. Perhaps even older. But I have old stories, mind you now, of ages that were and will be. Ages when men ruled the heavens and the stars, and ages when man roamed as brother to the animals. Ages of wonder and ages of horror. Ages ended by fire raining from the skies, and ages doomed by snow and ice covering land and sea. I have old stories, and I will tell old stories. Tales of Mosk the Giant with his lance of fire that could reach around the world, and his wars with Alsbet, the Queen of All. Tales of Mutaris, the healer, mother of the wondrous Ind.
The balls now danced between Tom's hands in 2 intertwining circles. His voice was almost a chant, and he turned slowly as he spoke, as if surveying the onlookers to gauge his effect.
I will tell you of the end of the age of legends, of the dragon, and his attempt to free the Dark One into the world of men. I will tell of the time of madness, when Aes Sedai shattered the world, of the Trolloc Wars, when men battled Trollocs for rule of the earth, of the War of the 100 Years, when men battled men, and the nations of our day were wrought. I will tell the adventures of men and women, rich and poor, great and small, proud and humble. The siege of the Pillars of the Sky. How Goodwife Carol cured her husband of snoring. How Dareth and the fall of the House of...
Abruptly the flow of words and the juggling alike stopped. Tom simply snatched the balls from the air and stopped talking. Unnoticed by Rand, Moraine had joined the listeners. Lan was at her shoulder, though he had to look twice to see the man. For a moment, Tom looked at Moraine sideways, his face and body still except for making the balls disappear into his capacious coat sleeves. Then he bowed to her, holding his cloak wide.
Your pardon, but you are surely not from this district?
"Lady," Eowyn hissed fiercely. "The Lady Moraine." Tom blinked, then bowed again, more deeply.
Your pardon again, lady. I meant no disrespect.
Moraine made a small waving away gesture. None was perceived, Master Bard, and my name is simply Moraine. I am indeed a stranger here, a traveler like yourself, far from home and alone. The world can be a dangerous place when one is a stranger.
The Lady Moraine collects stories, Eowyn put in. Stories about things that happen in the Two Rivers. Though I don't know whatever happened here to make a story of.
I trust you will like my stories as well, Moraine.
Tom watched her with obvious wariness. He looked not best pleased to find her there. Suddenly Rand wondered what sort of entertainment a lady like her might be offered in a city like Baerlon or Camelin. Surely it could not be anything better than a Gleeman.
That is a matter of taste, Master Bard, Moraine replied. Some stories I like, and some I do not.
Tom's bow was his deepest yet, bending his long body parallel to the ground.
I assure you, none of my stories will displease. All will please and entertain, and you do me too much honor. I am a simple Gleeman. That, and nothing more.
Moraine answered his bow with a gracious nod. For an instant she seemed even more the Lady Eowyn had named her, accepting an offering from one of her subjects. Then she turned away, and Lan followed, a wolf heeling a gliding swan. Tom stared after them, bushy brows drawn down, stroking his long mustaches with a knuckle, until they were halfway up the green.
He's not pleased at all, Rand thought.
Are you going to juggle some more now? Eowyn demanded. Eat fire, Matt shouted. I want to see you eat fire. The harp, a voice cried from the crowd. Play the harp.
Someone else called for the flute. At that moment, the door of the inn opened, and the village council trundled out, Nynaeve in their midst. Padan Fain was not with them, Rand saw. Apparently the peddler had decided to remain in the warm common room with his mulled wine. Muttering about a strong brandy, Tom Merrilin abruptly jumped down from the old foundation. He ignored the cries of those who had been watching him, pressing inside past the councillors before they were well out of the doorway.
"Is he supposed to be a Gleeman or a king?" Sen Bowie asked in annoyed tones. "A waste of good money, if you ask me."
Bran Alvear half turned after the Gleeman, then shook his head.
"That man may be more trouble than he's worth.